Good morning everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of the NLBC News. The best news show that brings you all the best news stories and messes up all the words. Today we have some exciting stories for everyone. So, without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. My throat feels really dry right now, so this is going to be great. I'm going to take one more sip of water, and then we're going to go. Water's good. Drink water. Alright, so our first story today. Home AI systems, such as Alexa and Google Homes, might be able to detect your abnormal heartbeats using built-in speakers. Smart speaker systems such as Google Homes and Alexa have started to become more and more common in households all over the world, and are able to aid their owners in a variety of different tasks, from making lists, setting reminders, playing music, and waking you up in your sleep because they want to talk to you. The systems are so fine-tuned that they can pick up your voice of the one who set up the smart speaker out of a collection of other sounds, like when your kids are screaming because they lost at Call of Duty. But what if they could pick up even fainter sounds? Well, some researchers have found out how to do just that, as they have found a way for smart speaker systems to detect your heartbeat, and can even diagnose an irregular heart rhythm. Smart speaker systems work by using a collection of speakers that listen to your voice, then send it over the internet to a data processing hubs, and helps it figure out what you're trying to say and how it can help you. The way the researchers have taught the AI to find your heartbeat is to emit an inaudible sound from the speakers into the room around the target patient and listen to the way the sounds are reflected. Because a heartbeat is such a tiny motion on the chest, the smart speaker uses machine learning to help signal locate a heartbeat. According to researchers though, finding a heartbeat is actually quite easy in the grand scheme of things, but it's much harder to detect a heart's rhythm, which is basically how your heartbeat develops and acts over a period of time. A normal rhythm could be a beat every second, or a beat every 2 seconds, or something like that. But an abnormal rhythm could be 2 beats in 1 second, 3 beats in 7 seconds, and then 5 beats in 20 seconds, or any other regularity. With the speaker able to discern between the two, it could be used to detect irregular heart rhythms over a longer period. To prove that the system worked, researchers at Washington State tested a prototype smart speaker on 2 groups, 26 healthy patients and 24 hospitalized patients with a diversity of cardiac conditions. Out of combined 12,300 heartbeats from the healthy patients, the smart speaker's median interbeat interval was within 28 milliseconds of a standard monitor, which is 28 thousandths of a second. Pretty small. And for the participants with irregular heartbeats, the median interbeat interval was within 30 milliseconds of the standard monitor, so pretty close. Right now, the system is best used for spot checks. A patient concerned with their heart rhythm can sit in front of the smart speaker and help determine if they have an irregular heartbeat, which could help the patient determine if they're having a medical issue. Soon, speakers will not only be able to detect your heart rhythm, but also will be able to detect any unhealthy eating habits and firmly inform you that this is your 4th ice cream sundae today, and that maybe the beer in the fridge is not the best for you. All while checking your heartbeat for irregularities while you eat your emotions listening to Billie Eilish. So look forward to that. Moving on to our next story. The moon is a wonderful place, and it might serve a purpose for us in the future. Lava tubes on the moon might one day hold lunar arcs, engineers propose. catastrophic event caused by a natural disaster or poor decisions made by humankind is always on the table as a future event for the Earth, like a pandemic that kills everyone. Due to this fact, there has been arks created to survive doomsday scenarios to hold seeds and other things necessary to sustain life on Earth in case of extreme situations where they might be needed. There is currently one doomsday vault in Norway that contains hundreds of thousands of seeds to be able to replant any food necessary for sustaining life, along with a lot of Oreos. And yes, that is actually true. There are lots of Oreos placed inside of the vault by Nabisco, which is important. However, there is not a backup that's of the species that exist of the Earth, and no vault that would survive an extreme change in the Earth's surface, or the Earth being destroyed. Which I guess, if the Earth was destroyed, the moon would probably go with it, but we're, hoping it wouldn't. Due to this fact, a group of researchers have proposed a vault to be built inside of lava tubes on the moon. The lava tubes on the moon have been dry for billions of years and were formed when the moon had molten fluid running through it. The tubes are far underground and hundreds of meters wide, which could provide ample space and plenty of protection from harmful space radiation and micrometeors, among with other things. The plan would be to take 50 samples of almost 6.7 million species that exist on Earth and store them in the vault for safekeeping, so that they will be usable in any extreme scenario that may happen. The cold temperatures of space would be perfect for keeping the DNA samples cryogenically froze, and could keep these samples for thousands of years or more. The cost of the lunar ark would likely be quite expensive, requiring hundreds of rocket launches from the Earth to the moon, and is most likely on hold until there is an established moon base. But, with the Americans' expenditure on military, maybe it's not as crazy. While this lunar ark would be quite helpful, I think the researchers might be forgetting one tiny detail. If this is meant to be able to establish a species in the case of an emergency, wouldn't you need someone or something to reproduce most of them? Some species are asexual and can reproduce on their own, but what about humans? Put a bunch of human DNA in a dish and it's a useless pile of goo. Much like born humans sometimes. I mean, wouldn't that be a terrible task for a few hundred or even thousands of humans that survive a terrible catastrophic event to do? Hey, just take all of these frozen samples and make them live again. I'm sure that there is a scientist with knowledge of cryogenics and a wide range knowledge of species reproduction methods. So the idea definitely needs some work and a little more context, because at this moment, a lunar ark would be worthless except for a catalog where an alien species could discover the ark, somehow hidden under a random planet's moon, in a random lava tube, in a random galaxy, in a random part of the universe. Very likely, of course. And this picture shows what some of them may look like in the future, holding cryopreservation modules, multiple elevators, and preservation analysis laboratories, which looks pretty cool. But we'll see if it becomes a reality. So moving on to gaming, we have something that might be helpful for some of you Resident Evil fans out there. Resident Evil developers, Capcom, releases a warning to players and fans, warning of an early access email scam. Thousands of people around the world are eagerly awaiting any news on the new Resident Evil game and to be stepped on by a vampire lady. And it seems like scammers might be taking advantage of that. As if scalping PS5s at insane markups for thousands of dollars wasn't bad enough, now scammers are trying to impersonate Capcom and make eager fans believe there is an early access of the game. And this is not true. Capcom has released a statement stating that fans should be aware of a phishing scam going around in email inboxes, claiming to offer early access to Resident Evil Village. In the statement, Capcom added, and I quote, "We're sending this message as we've been made aware that there is currently emails circulating that pretend to contain early access invitations to Resident Evil Village. The sender address is being displayed as no-reply@capcom.com." End quote. The structure of the email address is common for automated messages that are intended not to be replied to, but Capcom assures fans that there is no such official early access email that Capcom has released. So if you happen to run across an email like this, or have already done so, please exercise caution and take the proper precautions. While fishing is a great way to catch delicious fishies, it's not worth losing personal data and other potential harmful data from some delicious trout. Or maybe it is. I haven't figured out yet. So moving on to our last story. You wouldn't think that doors are a complicated thing in video games, but some developers disagree. Doors are more complicated than you may think, according to game developers, explaining why doors are one of the worst features to implement. The humble door, so square, so flat, so all-encompassing, letting you through when you wish and keeping out murderous bandits when you need it. There is almost nothing a door can't do, except lock when you want it to. But to some people, doors are a pain in the neck and annoying to deal with. What kind of person might find these majestic and humble constructions accessories annoying? Well, game developers, that's who. According to an indie game developer, Steven Hovelbrinks, revealed that doors are notoriously hard to deal with in game development. When Stefan posted this tweet on Twitter explaining the complications with doors, many other developers agreed with the post, with developers on titles like The Last of Us 2 and The Witcher 3 chiming in. Stefan explains that one of the biggest problems with doors is the doors acting as a dynamic funnel which blocks pathfinding and can be in states of locked, unlocked, destroyed, undestroyed, wet, dry, or partially destroyed, or any other combination of things. But the most glaring issue is that they are potentially in between any game interaction or character-to-character situation from here to there. A developer from The Last of Us Part 2, Court McGinnis, expressed frustration with doors, as well as stating that it was hard to make the doors work with all the ins and outs of the game. What if you're crouching behind the door? What if it's shot through while closed, while open? These are things that must be considered if you want the door to behave realistically. If you're going for realistic immersive gameplay, developers don't want a door flying off the hinges or imploding on itself just because you looked in its general direction. There is also a chance, and has been experienced before by many people, for an NPC to get stuck behind a door, or for a door to get stuck in a state of opened but closed, appearing open but unable to pass through, along with many other bugs that could show up. So next time you're going through a door in a game, be sure to appreciate the doors and their majestic behavior, as well as the effort it has taken for them to be made correctly and to behave correctly. And just remember that doors are your friends. Take care of them. Don't abuse them. Close them softly, and make sure to clean them every day. They're like pets. So that is our last story for today. Thank you all for joining me today on another exciting episode of the NLBC News. This is Luxia 2.0, and I shall be bidding you adieu. Catch us next week on Saturday morning at 11 AM, and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.